Well, pressure is growing on Israel to allow more aid into Gaza. Israeli authorities say almost 100 trucks have been allowed to cross into the Palestinian territory. But the UN says barely any food, fuel or medicine has been distributed to people in need.
Aid agencies say the supplies allowed into Gaza so far this week fall way short of what's needed to ease the hunger crisis. And for those already displaced, the situation is desperate.
There is no flour, no food, no water. We used to get water from the pump. Now the pump has stopped working. There is no diesel or gas. The neighborhood is destroyed. The tanks are in our homes.
The UN's World Food Programme is trying to get permission to bring in 100 truckloads of aid each day, but says even that would barely meet essential needs.
On the ground, the situation is growing more desperate, and the risk of insecurity and looting of humanitarian goods becomes even greater. As we speak, a bag of wheat flour costs $500 in Gaza.
The number of casualties from Israel's latest offensive is also rising steadily. Palestinian officials say hundreds of people have been killed since it began last weekend. Israel's military says its airstrikes hit more than 100 targets on Wednesday, including here in Jabalia.
We're afraid to sleep. Everyone is considered a terrorist, and everyone is targeted. Show me a house in Gaza that hasn't been hit.
Every day, people wake up to massacres here in Jabalia. The north of Gaza is destroyed.
Visiting a naval base, Israel's defense minister said the objectives of the renewed onslaught are clear: to free the remaining hostages and eliminate Hamas.
We need to provide protection and act with full force, and that's what we'll do.
While some aid is now getting into Gaza, agencies say distribution is a big problem and supplies are still not reaching the people who need them most.
Well, Jolien Veldwijk is country director for CARE Palestine. She joins us from the Jordanian capital, Amman. Welcome to DW. We are now 2 days after aid trucks were allowed back into Gaza. The UN is saying that no aid has reached Palestinians. Is that what CARE's workers are also seeing?
Absolutely. No trucks have been offloaded yet, and no food has entered, or no supplies have entered Gaza. And even my teams, they're also speaking of the desperation, especially during the military actions that are happening right now, also even leading to multiple displacement for my own team members over the last couple of days.
Right, so CARE and other aid groups have called for unimpeded humanitarian access. Talk us through what you're facing at the moment and what exactly you'd like to see changed.
At the moment, we see no aid coming in at all, despite the trucks that are at Kerem Shalom and now also on the side of Kerem Abu Salem. They have not been offloaded, and the items have not reached those who are in need. I think also what is important to note is the items that are on the truck. So the first truck that came in 2 days ago, which still hasn't reached the beneficiaries or the people that need it the most, is, for instance, with full of baby formula, but also without water. That baby formula cannot be used because it needs water to become milk, of course, for the babies. And I think this is something really important to think about as well. It's not even about the number of trucks; it's about what's on the trucks as well. Distributing flour doesn't make sense if there's no cooking gas for people to turn it into bread.
Tell us more about that. We know that the trucks are coming into the territory, but they're staying there. The aid is not being distributed. You talk about the baby powder being on those trucks, but there is no water to mix it. Flour without oil. Is this logistical mix-up, or is it sabotage?
I think that's a very good question. At the moment, we see a lot of bureaucratic impediments. So even if the trucks are there, the items are on the trucks, then the trucks need to be offloaded and need to be moved into Gaza. We are also seeing is that, of course, several routes are unsafe for us to move, and especially with the ongoing military activities. So this also needs to be addressed. I think the other issue is that it's not complete. I think even now, food is of course the thing that we need the most, but to only give the raw cooking materials, I mean, it doesn't work. So I think there's definitely, we need more. And this is what unimpeded means. We need to be able for all of us to empty our warehouses. We've had supplies in our warehouses for over 2.5 months because that's how long the blockade has been lasting. All of those supplies, our medicine, our food, our shelter items, our hygiene items, our clothes, they need to go in from Egypt, from Jordan, from the West Bank, from Israel into Gaza. And that is not happening right now. No NGO cargo has been approved by Israel to enter.
Okay. Jolien Veldwijk from CARE Palestine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, for more on this, let's speak now to Khaled Elgindy. He is visiting scholar at Georgetown University Center for Contemporary Arab Studies and a former senior fellow and director of Middle East Institute's programme on Palestine and Israeli-Palestinian affairs. Great to have you on DW News tonight. So aid is barely reaching people. The humanitarian situation is dire, to say the least. What I want to know is how great is the political pressure within Israel to allow more aid in?
Well, it seems that it's not great enough until the last few days, and as you said, the aid that has been allowed to enter is quite limited, as we heard in the report. So there has been a tremendous amount of pressure. There have been threats by Western countries to reevaluate their relationship with Israel, whether in trade terms or other aspects of the relationship. But I think and we've also seen pressure from the Trump administration, which is not known for its sympathetic approach to Palestinian suffering. And so, yes, there's quite a lot of international pressure. Israel has done a pretty good job of resisting that pressure up until now.
Let's talk about Benjamin Netanyahu's press conference now. So what message was he sending and to whom?
He is sending the same message that he has been sending for many, many months, but particularly since he unilaterally broke the ceasefire back in March. And that is that this war will continue on his terms, more or less indefinitely, until reaching what his stated goals of the total defeat of Hamas and the conquest of Gaza. Of course, I think most rational analysts will tell us that the total defeat of Hamas is not an achievable goal. And it's likely that Netanyahu understands this, but of course he needs an indefinite war to remain in power. It is the only way in which he can remain power is by appeasing the extremists in his government that have called for the complete annihilation of Gaza, the starvation of its population, and the expulsion of those who remain. And he is acquiescing to that, in essence, in order to remain in power.
Now, Khaled, Netanyahu also says that all of Gaza will be under Israeli control after its current operation. Is this a shift in strategy, or is this just more of the same?
No, it's more of the same. There is no end game. Netanyahu has no end game. It's clear. I think most Israeli security officials understand that. Analysts understand that. Even in Israel, there is no end game. There is no military purpose to the starvation of the population, for example. This is purely to inflict punishment and pain and suffering on the entirety of the population, as per the wishes of his extremist coalition partners. So this war is not about anything strategic or military. It is not about security. It is certainly not about self-defense. This is purely about satisfying the extremists in his government, and for Netanyahu personally, remaining in power and staying out of jail.
Now, Netanyahu, I just want to go back to a point that you made before about the relations with the United States. Netanyahu mentioned possible coordination with the US and a conditional ceasefire, though. But how much influence does Washington really have right now? Now, we only have about 25 seconds or so, Khaled.
Yeah, I mean, Washington has tremendous influence over Israel. It is arming Israel's war at every stage, and has done so under both Biden and Trump administrations. The question isn't whether they have influence, it's whether the Trump administration is willing to use it. They are willing to use it to prevent images of starving babies, but unlikely to use it to actually bring a final end to this war.
OK, we're going to have to leave it there, but great to have your insights. Khaled Elgindy is visiting scholar at Georgetown University Center for Contemporary Arab Studies. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you.